Hey everyone, welcome to Speak Like a Native. I'm Maya.
And I'm Leo. Let's get into it.
So, Leo, I want you to imagine this. You're in a university seminar. There are 15 students around a table, everyone's engaged. The professor just asked a really interesting question, and you have something smart to say. What comes out of your mouth?
I think that the main reason is
Exactly. And that right there, that I think, is costing you more than you realize.
wait, really? But isn't I think the most natural way to give your opinion?
It's natural, sure, but in an academic or professional discussion, it actually makes you sound less confident and less prepared. Here's why. When you say, I think, you're signaling that what follows is just your personal guess. It sounds hesitant, like you're not sure if you're allowed to have this opinion.
Oh, wow. That's actually really eye-opening. So, what should I say instead?
Three power phrases that will transform how you sound in any class discussion. And the first one is this: building on what X said.
Building on what X said.
Right. So instead of saying, I think the author's argument is strong, you say, building on what Sarah said. I'd add that the author's argument is especially strong when we look at the second chapter.
Oh, I see. So it's not just giving my opinion, it's connecting my opinion to someone else's.
Exactly. And that's the secret. In American academic culture, discussions are not about who has the smartest solo idea. They're about collaboration. Professors want to see that you're listening to your classmates and that you can add value to what they've said. When you use building on what X said, you're showing two things at once. You listened and you have something relevant to contribute.
That's so good. Can you give me another example?
Sure. Imagine you're in a history class. A student named Maria just made a point about the Industrial Revolution. You could say, building on what Maria said, I think we should also consider the environmental impact. But wait, drop the I think. Just say, building on what Maria said, we should also consider the environmental impact.
Building on what Maria said, we should also consider the environmental impact.
Perfect. You drop the I think, and your sentence immediately sounds more confident, doesn't it?
It really does. It's like the building on carries the weight, so I don't need the hesitation.
Now let me give you a variation. Sometimes you want to agree, but also add a totally new angle. For that, you can say, that's a great point. And to expand on that,
That's a great point. And to expand on that,
yes, it's polite, it's collaborative, and it shows you're engaged. That's a great point. And to expand on that, I'd like to look at the data from a different angle.
okay, I love these. But what if I disagree? What if someone says something and I totally think they're wrong?
Right. And this is where most learners struggle. They either stay silent because they don't want to seem rude, or they say, I disagree, which in many cultures is perfectly fine. But in an American classroom, saying I disagree directly can feel a little blunt. It can shut down the conversation instead of opening it up.
So what do I do?
Here's your second power phrase. I'd push back on that.
I'd push back on that.
It means I disagree, but it's softer, more collaborative. Pushback implies that you're engaging with the idea, not attacking the person. Let me give you an example. Say a classmate says, social media has no positive effects on teenage mental health. You could say, I push back on that. I think social media can actually create supportive communities for teens who feel isolated.
I'd push back on that. I think social media can actually create supportive communities for teens who feel isolated.
Now, what did you just do?
I used I'd push back on that instead of I disagree.
Yes, but you also did something else. Look at your sentence again. You said I think after pushback.
Oh no, I did. I put I think right back in.
You did. And it's so common. Learners from all over the world do this. When they learn a new phrase, they pair it with their old habit. So let me clarify. I'd push back on that is a complete opinion starter. You don't need I think after it. Just go straight to your point. I'd push back on that. Social media can actually create supportive communities for teens who feel isolated.
I'd push back on that. Social media can actually create supportive communities for teens who feel isolated.
Yes. Now you sound confident. You sound like someone who has done their reading and has a well-formed opinion.
This is really making me rethink every class discussion I've ever had.
Good. Now here's the third phrase, and this one I wish someone had told me sooner. It's for when you want to introduce a completely new idea or perspective that nobody has brought up yet. You say, another way to look at this is.
Another way to look at this is.
Yes, this is magic because it doesn't challenge anyone. It doesn't build on anyone specifically. It just opens a new door. Another way to look at this is through the lens of economic inequality.
Another way to look at this is through the lens of economic inequality.
Beautiful. Now let's put all three together in a real discussion. Leo, imagine we're in a psychology class. The professor asks, what role does childhood environment play in adult behavior?
Okay, I'm ready.
Maria speaks first and she talks about attachment theory. Now it's your turn. What do you say?
Building on what Maria said, attachment theory is a strong foundation, but we should also consider how school environments outside the home shape behavior.
Excellent. That's a perfect use of the first phrase. Now, another student, James, says that childhood environment is the single most important factor and everything else is secondary. You disagree.
I'd push back on that. Genetics also play a significant role in personality development, and we can't ignore that.
Perfect. And now the conversation is flowing. Someone else speaks, and you have a brand new angle. Nobody has mentioned the role of socioeconomic background. What do you say?
Another way to look at this is through the lens of socioeconomic status and how it interacts with both environment and genetics.
Leo, I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of myself too. That felt so natural, and I didn't say I think once.
You didn't. And that's the win. Now, let me address something that comes up often. Learners from different language backgrounds make specific mistakes with these phrases. For example, Spanish and Italian speakers often add extra words like, for me. I think that the for me is redundant in English. Just use one opener. Chinese speakers often use I think as a filler before every statement because in Chinese, wo wen wei is standard. Arabic speakers often say, in my opinion, I think. Again, choose one. Native French speakers might say, according to me, which doesn't exist in English. So if any of these sound familiar to you, today is the day to break that habit.
So I have a confession. I just realized I say, in my opinion, I think all the time.
Thank you for being honest. And that brings me to a really important point. In my opinion, and I think are not wrong grammar. They are completely correct, but they are overused, and they carry this undertone of hesitation. Native speakers in academic settings use them sparingly, maybe once or twice in a whole discussion. They rely on phrases like the three we learned today to vary their language and sound more dynamic.
So it's not about being wrong, it's about having more tools in my toolbox.
Exactly. And that's what today is all about. You now have 3 new tools. Let me hear you say them one more time. First phrase.
Building on what X said,
Second phrase.
I'd push back on that.
Third phrase.
Another way to look at this is.
Perfect. Now, here's your challenge for today. I want you to use at least one of these phrases in a real conversation, in a class, in a work meeting, or even in a comment on this video. Practice it out loud. Say it 3 times. The goal is to make it feel automatic.
That's a great challenge. And to expand on that, I'd say listeners should also try recording themselves saying these phrases and listening back. It feels weird, but it really helps.
That is excellent advice, Leo. And you just used the second pattern without even realizing it.
I did. And to expand on that, that's the variation you showed me earlier.
You're a natural. And before we wrap up, I want to give you one more piece of advice. When you use these phrases, don't rush them. Say them clearly. Building on what Maria said, pause, then deliver your point. The pause shows confidence. It shows you're thinking. Learners often rush because they're nervous, but slow is smooth, and smooth is confident.
Slow is smooth, and smooth is confident. I'm writing that down.
And if you want more phrases like these, check out our previous episode on agreeing and disagreeing politely, episode 31, I believe. We go deeper into the cultural side of American discussion etiquette.
And don't forget to subscribe. Every single day, We drop a new episode that helps you sound more like a native. And if you found today helpful, leave a comment with a sentence using one of these 3 phrases. Maya and I read every single one.
We do, and we respond. So give it a try. Remember, you don't have to say I think to have a good idea. You just need the right words and the confidence to use them. Thanks for listening, everyone. This is Speak Like a Native, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you next time.